Pantheon. Debuted in 2022 to high acclaim. But the simplistic layout and lack of theming made it seem like a pretty average thrill coaster when I was looking at it from afar. But after riding this beast of a coaster, has my opinion changed so that I can give it some love? Find out in this review. Pantheon is an LSM coaster from Intamin, which is the same type as Cheetah Hunt at Busch Gardens Tampa Bay, but also more ambitious coasters such as Maverick at Cedar Point and Batman Gotham City Escape at Parque Warner Madrid. Intamin as a coaster manufacturer grew into building roller coasters in the 1980s, with unique coasters such as the bobsled or stand-up coasters dominating the scenes during the 1980s. Woodstock Express, that opened at what is now Hurricane Harbor Splashtown outside of Houston, was actually one of their first coasters. In the 1990s, they added impulse coasters and the record-breaking reverse freefall coaster to their portfolio. But they wanted true strong hypercoasters, and that came about with their mega coaster model that debuted as Superman Ride of Steel at Darien Lake. In 2007, they debuted their LSM coaster with Maverick at Cedar Point, showcasing that they offered a very solid thrill launch coaster. Busch Gardens Williamsburg is highly regarded as the most beautiful park in the world. And with a great setting in the woods and being next to a river, it's really not hard to see why. Most areas have a good amount of theming based around European countries, some of which is a bit old at this point. Pantheon is off of the funfair section, Fiesta, Italia, which, while a popular section of the park for guests, is not the best in terms of theming. The plaza itself for Pantheon is both isolated and rather desolate, as it just doesn't have much to it. The queue and coaster itself equally have little extra theming to look at, though the neat part of the theming is that the 5 different sections of the coasters are labeled to different Roman gods, as Pantheon was a Roman temple dedicated to all gods. With how good this coaster is, it can build up a sizable wait, especially compared to the other major thrill coasters at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Apollo's Chariot, on the other side of Fiesta Italia, should always be a walk-on, or at least a station wait, especially at the start and end of the day when I rode it. Pantheon can build up a sizable wait, and given its proximity to the entrance, is a wise coaster to rope drop if you're looking to get multiple laps on it. Dark Coaster will easily have the longest line in the park, so going there and then getting a few laps on the Big Bad Wolf likely is a fine strategy as well. Just kinda depends on preference. Returning midday on a moderately busy Sunday, Pantheon had about a 20 to 30 minute wait, with about half the queue line filled up. This still isn't terrible, but you can likely maximize your day by knocking this out earlier if you want. The queue also won't die down too much at the end of the day, as it was still close to a 20-minute wait when I had to go back to Pantheon after Apollo's Chariot closed due to someone throwing up on it, which apparently happens a lot with that coaster. Frustrating me in the queue line was that guests would all crowd into the station, being 4 or even 5 trains deep on some of the queue lines and making it very difficult to see which rows had a shorter line. Then when I would try to wait to let this crowding die down, guests in the queue line would start pushing past me to again overcrowd the station. It just didn't seem necessary for a station wait to be 5+ trains deep for this coaster. As for seat selection, most rows seem to ride similarly, so you should be fine sitting anywhere. I really enjoyed my 3rd row ride, as it gave the best airtime I had on most of the elements, and everything just hit really well. likely that this was just more luck of the draw, so I'd imagine any row can just give a fine ride on this coaster. The front is a bit better for that first spike as you go all the way up it, but it's not special enough that you need that experience. After leaving the station, you go around small turns that rock the car back and forth. This isn't a great pre-lift per se, but does a good job showing just how excellent these smaller elements are going to be on this coaster. This leads into a weak launch, but this works in Pantheon's favor as it makes the next inversion slow, with excellent hang time, as you dive a shallow bit towards the ground. With your small amount of speed, you have a decent low to the ground turn, followed by some small off-axis bunny hills that will give interesting airtime throughout the train. This start is incredible, as every element seems to hit, and they work so well together. I would love to see just like a whole roller coaster designed just around these small intimate elements, as you could do something really, really special while not being too tall or scary. Next comes the swing launch, which is supposed to be the highlight of this coaster, but at least for me, it's kind of only alright. You accelerate over a bunny hill, but don't get much airtime on that initial launch. Next, you go a long way up the top hat, getting a decent spike feeling towards the front of the train. The backwards launch allows for you to have more speed over the bunny hill, and my brother was really in love with the backwards airtime here. So, for some, it will hit really well, but it just didn't do much for me. I didn't notice anything special at all, really. The vertical spike is tall and intimidating, but these, like on Mr. Freeze at Six Flags over Texas, they tend not to do a lot for me. It's a fine element for sure, but nowhere near as special as those initial elements. Next, we launch one more time, getting decent but not great ejector airtime over the bunny hill before leading into the underwhelming top hat. You have the right amount of speed to crest this drop and get a little pause while at the top, and then you get a decent drop off the top hat itself. But I can't help but comparing this to Wrath of Zeus's top hat, that is one of the best single coaster elements that I've ever experienced, with great ejector, float, and just coaster feelings over its crest. And using 3 descriptors isn't being redundant. Wrath of Zeus's top hat is just that good. So, by comparison, I was left unimpressed with Pantheon's. The views of the river are nice from the top of the hill, and you have a nice low-to-the-ground turn to complement your speed, followed by a tall, off-axis hill. This uses your speed to give you a larger element, and it's fun enough, I guess. This leads into another low-to-the-ground turn that naturally leads into an inversion with oodles of hang time. Given your freeing restraint, this is an awesome inversion. This bleeds naturally into another low-to-the-ground turn, which has a kink after it to rock your train the opposite direction before returning to another enjoyable turn into a final off-axis bunny hill that leads into the bright ground. Again, these smaller elements at the end are excellent, as they all hit and work together to create a fantastic experience. Overall, how good is Pantheon? With great pacing, 2 inversions with incredible hang time, and twisted elements with sideways airtime, it feels like all elements hit throughout this coaster. The swing launch is underwhelming, as it is good but not excellent, with the bunny hill not hitting, at least for me, and the 2 spikes being only nice experiences. I can't get over how underwhelming the top hat is, especially with how solid the rest of the coaster is, as this could easily be better than just a great solid coaster that it is. Despite my lackluster love for its swing launch, I do rank Pantheon very highly, right above the Steel Eel at SeaWorld San Antonio, has been one of my favorite coasters for years, with its strong floater airtime over its elements. It just is a one-trick pony, and Pantheon has a bit more variety. I rank Pantheon right below Wrath of Zeus. With a smooth track of inversions and small airtime hills after its top hat, the various elements on Pantheon are better. But the incredible feeling of Wrath of Zeus's top hat just has its edge out Pantheon, as that top hat is everything I could want in a coaster. What has your experience been with Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg? What is the best top hat that you've been on? Let me know, and as always, Cupkin Crap.